There's something few people ever say honestly about overthinking. It does not start with anxiety. It starts with the fear of losing control. Carl Jung once pointed out that human beings are not driven by what they are conscious of, but by what they avoid. And overthinking is exactly that. A very intelligent, very reasonable, very sophisticated form of avoidance. Neuroscience shows that when you overthink, the most active part of your brain is not the panic center, but the prefrontal cortex, the area responsible for analysis, prediction, and planning. That means you are not weak at all. You are operating in a heightened control mode. Your brain is trying to do one thing only: keep you away from an emotion it believes is dangerous, the feeling of being abandoned, the feeling of helplessness, the feeling of uncertainty. And thinking always feels safer than feeling. Psychologists call this cognitive avoidance. You are not running away from the problem, you are running away from the feeling the problem might create. You replay the same conversation in your head not to find an answer, but to avoid touching the hurt underneath it. You create hundreds of scenarios not to prepare, but to preserve the feeling that you are still in control. Jung believed that what we refuse to face becomes the shadow that quietly controls our behavior. Overthinking is the moment that shadow takes the wheel. So if you believe you overthink simply because you worry too much, you may be underestimating yourself. The more uncomfortable truth is this: you overthink because you are not ready to feel yet. And until you are willing to stay with that feeling, your mind will never truly fall silent.
There is a familiar moment that almost everyone who overthinks has experienced. You sit alone with your phone face down while your mind races with questions. Did I say the wrong thing? What if they misunderstood me? What if everything goes wrong tomorrow and I'm not ready? On the surface, it looks like you are being thoughtful and responsible about your life. But if you're honest, you will notice one thing you are not doing. You are not feeling. Neuroscience explains this very clearly. When you overthink, the most active area is not the limbic system, the center of raw emotions like fear, sadness, and attachment, but the prefrontal cortex, which handles analysis, reasoning, and prediction. Simply put, your brain is pressing emotions down with logic. Thinking feels safer than feeling. Thinking gives you a sense of agency, while feeling makes you vulnerable. Psychologists describe this as a subtle form of avoidance. You are not escaping the situation. You are escaping the emotional experience it brings. Instead of allowing yourself to feel sad, you analyze. Instead of allowing yourself to feel afraid, you plan. Instead of admitting that you are hurting, you ask yourself why you are like this. Overthinking is not thinking too much. It is numbing emotions through intellect. There is a very ordinary example. After a relationship ends, some people cry, some feel sad, some feel empty, and some people think non-stop. They replay every sentence, every detail, every imagined version of what they could have done differently. But they do not allow themselves to touch what lies underneath: the feeling of being abandoned, the feeling of rejection, the feeling of not being enough. Thinking keeps them busy, feeling makes them fragile, and the brain always chooses what feels safer.
One reason overthinking is addictive is because it gives you the illusion of control. When you cannot control other people, cannot be certain about outcomes, cannot grasp the future, the brain does the next best thing. It creates and controls scenarios in your head. You cannot control life, but you can control how you think about it. Each time you replay a situation in your mind, the brain whispers a very tempting promise. If I think hard enough, I will not be surprised. If I prepare enough, I will be okay and I will not be shaken. But that promise is never kept. No scenario in your head can protect you from real emotional pain. It only postpones the moment you have to face it. Carl Jung called this avoided part the shadow. It contains the emotions, fears, and needs you do not want to acknowledge within yourself. The danger is not having a shadow, but pretending it does not exist. Jung believed that what you refuse to face does not disappear. It simply moves into the background and quietly controls you from behind. Overthinking is one of the ways that shadow operates. You believe you are preparing for the worst, but in reality, you are avoiding the feeling of powerlessness. You believe you are being careful, but underneath is the fear of being hurt again without protection. Control becomes your armor, and overthinking is how you keep polishing that armor, even though it has never truly kept you safe. The problem is not that you think too much. The problem is that you use thinking so you do not have to feel. And until you let go of the illusion that everything can be controlled by the mind, overthinking will continue to whisper to you as a form of self-protection that your brain learned a long time ago.
Many people do not develop overthinking as adults. They carry it with them from very early on, from childhood. Not because they enjoy thinking too much, but because they had to in order to survive. Children who grow up in unstable environments where adults' emotions change unpredictably and where silence feels more frightening than being yelled at quickly learn a survival skill: reading the emotional atmosphere. They pay attention to every look, every tone of voice, every subtle shift, because their brains learn that safety depends on predicting what will happen next. Science calls this state hypervigilance. Biologically, the sympathetic nervous system of these children is constantly stuck in alarm mode. Cortisol and adrenaline are triggered more easily than normal. The brain learns a deeply rooted belief: staying alert keeps me safe. The problem is that as they grow up, the environment changes, but the nervous system does not update in time. The mechanism that once helped them survive slowly transforms into overthinking. You are no longer trying to predict your parents' moods, but you are predicting the reactions of your boss, your partner, and the world around you. The brain does not register that the present is safer. It simply keeps doing what it once did best: staying alert. That is why many people do not overthink because they are weak, but because they were once extremely good at adapting. The skill just traveled too far beyond the context it was created for.
There is a subtle paradox here. People who overthink are often intelligent, sensitive, and highly capable of analysis. Yet that very intelligence becomes a hiding place for their deepest fears. Friedrich Nietzsche once suggested that human beings use reason not only to understand the world, but also to conceal their own fragility. The sharper you think, the stronger you feel. But often, that is simply a way to avoid admitting that you are afraid. From another perspective, Niccolò Machiavelli viewed control as a survival strategy. In politics and power, controlling the right things can save lives. But when that same logic is applied inward, it begins to backfire. You cannot rule your emotions the way you rule a kingdom. The more you try to control what happens inside you, the more you create a quiet rebellion. Overthinking stops being a tool and turns into a prison. The cost of using intellect to avoid emotion is that you may understand a great deal, but you feel very little. And a life with little feeling, no matter how safe it looks, is still empty.
The exhaustion created by overthinking is not the kind that comes from physical labor. It is subtle, persistent, and difficult to name. You sleep enough, yet you wake up tired. You rest, but your mind never truly settles. Your body rarely relaxes because your nervous system has never been allowed to turn the alarm off. Gradually, you lose touch with what you feel inside your body: hunger or fullness, joy or sadness, attraction or disinterest. Joy starts to feel muted, not because life is bad, but because you are always standing outside of it, observing. Even small decisions feel heavy because every choice triggers dozens of scenarios in your head, and the more you think, the further away you feel from yourself. Overthinking does not wear you down through thought itself. It wears you down through constant tension. And at some point, you may realize that what you need is not a better thought, but permission to lower your guard, even just a little, so you can truly live in the moment you are in.
There is a very common misunderstanding about overthinking. People believe that to stop overthinking, they need to think more accurately, think more positively, or find a better answer. But in reality, the opposite is true. Overthinking does not stop because you find the answer. It stops when you are no longer afraid of the feeling behind the question. Take a simple example. When you worry about what others think of you, the real problem is not the answer. Even if they explain themselves clearly, your mind will quickly find something else to worry about. What keeps you thinking is not uncertainty, but the feeling of vulnerability that comes from not being able to control how others respond to you. And because you do not want to feel that vulnerability, you choose to think. So the solution is not to stop thinking, but to shift your focus. Instead of asking, "What if this happens?" return to a very grounded question. What feeling am I trying to avoid right now? It might be the feeling of being dismissed. It might be the fear of being abandoned. It might simply be the fear of not being important enough. When you name the feeling accurately, the mind often settles on its own because it no longer needs to circle endlessly. When you dare to face the feeling you fear, you regain choice. You are no longer dragged along unconsciously by your thoughts. You may still feel sad or anxious, but you are no longer stuck. Overthinking does not disappear because you become stronger. It disappears when you no longer need it as armor. And the moment you can admit, "So this is the feeling I am afraid of," is often the moment your thoughts begin to come under control.
After watching this video, you may still overthink. That is completely normal. Old habits do not disappear after a single realization. But the next time you feel your mind start to race, instead of forcing it to be quiet, pause for a moment and ask yourself, what am I avoiding right now? What feeling am I using thoughts to escape from? If this video helped you recognize something about yourself, leave a comment with the number 1 as a way to remind yourself that you saw a part of yourself in this story. And if you know someone who is always trapped inside their own head the way you are, share this video with them. Sometimes the right perspective at the right moment can open more doors than 100 pieces of advice. This channel is created for people who want to understand human psychology more deeply, human behavior, and the quiet forces that shape their own thinking. If content like this resonates with you, follow the channel. Not to change yourself overnight, but so that each time you return, you understand yourself a little more clearly. See you in the next video.